Hi, my name's Marty. I'm with Puddle Glum's Music Collection. Hope you're doing great today. I'm here to do a second part series about the Jesus Revolution movie. And today I'm going to talk about some different music that came from around the early 70s, mid 70s, some late 70s, but mostly the early 70s. There was another part about the Jesus movement. You know, you had Love Song, you had all these bands doing stuff then. Mustard Seed Faith. A lot of these bands had country rock influences back then. That was very popular in the Jesus movement. A lot of folk, a lot of country rock influences. You had Larry Norman that was doing some more rockier stuff, and he had a little bit of, had some Dylan influences, Stone influences, Rolling Stones, different things like that. A lot of more bluesy influences and folk, Van Morrison influences. So you had Larry Norman, who was one of the known as the grandfather of Christian rock, but he came. There was a bunch of stuff going on at the time, so you had stuff going on in Europe, you had stuff going on here. Andre Crouch started a long time ago, but I'm gonna look at some more psychedelic stuff, kind of like Hendrix or Cream, and a little more psychedelic too. That time of music was coming out also from these different people that were becoming Christians and known as the Jesus freaks, Jesus movement, Jesus revolution, whatever you want to call it. And some of these were out of the Midwest. For example, I'm going to show you, let's see what we got here. Let's see some glass harp stuff. So you probably heard of Phil Keaggy. Phil Keaggy actually played a little bit with Love Song that was featured in the Jesus Revolution movie. Phil Keaggy was known as a great guitar player. He became a Christian in the early 70s when he was playing with his group, the Glass Harp, or Glass Harp. And he was an up-and-coming guitar player that was being noticed, playing sometimes with Joe Walsh, playing with, he came out of the Ohio there where all that stuff was going on with Joe Walsh and Glenn Schwartz and all that stuff. So, and Phil Keaggy was right in the mix. You had quotes about Phil Keaggy from Ted Nugent. You had quotes about Phil Keaggy from Joe Walsh in interviews. The Jimi Hendrix thing though was not true, but but anyway, he was known as a very good guitar player. But then he became a Christian, so he was starting to do things in that area. And Glass Harp, he was putting a lot of those lyrics into Glass Harp. This is a Glass Harp album. This is from '69. This really wasn't an official album. It was supposed to be, but nobody picked it up. But it's got like it has like 8 songs on it, 9 songs on here. And this is when Glass Harp had a different bass player. The bass player was Steve Marklin on this one. But Glass Harp was usually. This is one that came out in '77 on Star Song, so it's kind of a compilation there. So that was kind of cool. It's a compilation later on that came out. But they were mostly 69, 70, 71, 72, and then they kind of broke up. So here's It Makes Me Glad. And here's Synergy. There's Glass Harp, which I don't have on vinyl, but I do have on CD. Dan Picchio, I think that's how you say it. John Safara is on drums. Dan was on bass, and of course Phil Keaggy on guitar. They all kind of sang. It was pretty good stuff. So yeah. So they opened for a lot of people, and they're very popular in Ohio. They're part of the Ohio. Ohio really loves them. And then Phil Keaggy, of course, went solo in the Jesus movement. And he's been popular there ever since. Right now, he's semi-retired. So that was one of them. That was a band that was very kind of Cream meets Hendrix meets the Beatles. A little bit of psychedelic in there. A little bit of. There's times when it was very spacey, and there's times when it was very bluesy, and hard. So it just depended. But it was a great band. If you've never heard the Glass Harp, I suggest you look them up and listen to them. There's also other bands. Here's another good one. This is the Excursions. This is a band that came out of Chicago. They started about 68, 69. They got down about, I think this is recorded in 70, but came out in 71. This is the Excursions. Very bluesy, psychedelic. Has a lot of sounds like Hendrix or Cream. But there's a lot of weird stuff in here too, like the Third Eye gets a little psychedelic. So this is a very good album if you get a hold of this. It's Mike Johnson, who later had a solo career in Christian music. Phil Johnson and Leon Wilson on bass. And Mike Johnson was guitar and vocals. And Phil Johnson was the drummer. So Excursions, great band. I think they only came out with this one album, and that was it. You can get it on, I think it's a reissue now that's come out. I think you could still get it at Twisted Flower Records or something. So that's a reissue that came out not too long ago. It sounds great. I mean, it's quiet. It sounds like they're playing in your living room. The production is very like raw, but it's like clean, and it sounds really good. See what else we got here. And then you had people like Randy Matthews. Some of his stuff was a little more mellow, but as he kept going, he got, this one kind of reminds me of some of the, he's got a heavy, kind of a growl to his voice, kind of a storyteller. A few things remind me of The Doors, not really, but it's a little heavier. So if you ever get Son of Dust by Randy Matthews, this is really good in the early 70s, early to mid 70s. This is kind of cool. This was on Record Store Day one year. This is the Jesus People Music Volume 1. The End is at Hand. This is kind of a cool thing. This was something for Record Store Day one year, Jesus People Music, and it's got a lot of the cool stuff on here. You can download Volume 2 and Volume 3 when you get this, and it has more music. It has like Glass Harp and different people. But this has As It Is, which were popular at the time, Wilson McKinley. You got Maranatha on here. You got U.S. Apple Corps. Apple Corps. You got Out of Darkness, which is a great band. If you ever get a hold of Out of Darkness, that was a great band in the early 70s. Christian Psych music. The Messengers. There's a bunch of different people on here, and it was kind of cool. So that was from Record Store Day, believe it or not, and I grabbed a copy. So that was kind of cool. So yeah, that's just some of the other, like a lot of these bands were from like the Excursions. They were from Chicago. There were bands coming over from Europe too, There were, I think, Out of Darkness was from across the pond, if I'm thinking correctly. You had bands like Agape that had a real Hendrix feel to them. I think Agape were actually from California. So you had a lot of these psych bands you can look up. I'll try to put as much information down below as I can about it. But yeah, it was an awesome time. So you did have bands like Love Song coming out of the Calvary Chapel and different things, but it was happening all over the United States. So that's part 2, the Christian Psych, and kind of the spacey music, or maybe like the Hendrix type music. So that was all coming out too. So you might want to look that up. So this is Marty with Puddle Glum's Music Collection. Remember, hit the thumbs up down there, and then connect with me you can even hit that bell down there, and it'll alert you every time I do something. That sounds exciting. You have a great day.